So, language Gerard or Mcmenamin overview. Perhaps the most difficult task for the specialist in any field is to provide a brief but clear and simple description of the object of their scientific study. Expert witnesses, including linguists, are asked to do this almost every time they testify. Linguists must be able to successfully answer the question, what is language, for everyone in the courtroom, that is, judges and juries, that is, triers of fact, and all attorneys involved in the case, as well as observers. There is no small task, given the usual time constraints wherein individual levels of prior knowledge about language and experts need to avoid technical descriptions that may be incomprehensible to everyone else. The use of language by unconscious knowledge is analogous to how one does many things, such as driving a car without understanding its internal mechanical or electromechanical systems. The goal of the linguist is to understand units of language, their possible rule-governed combinations, and the conditions for how language is used, as well as the norms of the correct and appropriate use of language for a given speech community. The objective of the forensic linguist is to do the same within the narrower context of the court, that is, to examine what language users know and do, and make everyone in the courtroom a good backyard mechanic of language for the duration of a case. Therefore, another more practical purpose of this chapter is to ask and answer the questions on language asked at trial, usually during direct examination. What is grammar? What is language? What is language acquired? Are there individual differences in language acquisition? What is the linguistic variation? What is written language? How is written language acquired? Are there individual differences in the acquisition of written language? The focus on the written language surfaces a question authorship cases, question, surfaces in question authorship cases, while follows reflects this series of typical questions and provides responses that will hopefully become the basis for understanding the goals and methods and outcomes of the forensic linguists and forensic stylistics. Grammar. So, grammar is used in different ways. Purposely use its multiple meanings to identify three objects. First, grammar cannot be found in a book because it refers to the internal system of language that every native speaker acquires and uses. Second use of grammar is the systematic study and description of the internal system of language, a descriptive grammar that is documented in a book. And the third meaning of grammar is a set of the rules and examples of the do's and don'ts of a language, and is the type of the prescriptive grammar reflected in library reference works and school texts directed to prescribing the correct and appropriate use of language, that is, speaking and writing as well. The purpose for explaining is to specify that asking and answering the question, what is language, takes place mostly within the context of grammar, the internal system of language that allows speakers and writers to automatically use language. Language. It's a system of communication, more like animal sounds and movements, or Morse codes and dots and dashes, traffic control, signs and lights, human gestures and body language, and even computer source code. More precisely, human language is a system of communication that combines sounds with meanings to produce what people know and use as natural language. So this narrower definition of natural language distinguishes human language. The speaker of language acquires the ability to combine one or more sounds into words and words into larger structures. which the speaker and listener then mutually associate with meanings specific to the particular language and social context. Furthermore, language can be studied on two complementary and inseparable planes of form and function. Form corresponds to the structure of language, defined as a linguistic system. Function relates to a focus on language use, defined as an integral part of the human social interaction. Function of language relate to how language is used in contexts of speaking and getting things done through communication. Now this figure. Grammar and language. 3 meanings of grammar: internal system of language that every native speaker acquires, and second is the systematic study and description of that internal system of language, the descriptive. And third is the set of rules for correct and appropriate use of language, that is the perspective. Language form: phonetic study of speech sounds, segmental sounds, consonant vowels, suprasegmental sounds, stress, intonation, tone, intensity, speed. Phonology: the study of how a language arranges sounds in predictable patterns. Inventory of sounds, the phonemes, distribution of sounds, word position, syllable structure, consonant clusters, processes of sound change. Spelling, sounds and letters. Morphology is the study of word formation, the morphemes, building blocks of meaning, analytic vis-a-vis synthetic languages. Roots and affixes, or morphs and of roots and affixes, word formation processes. Function words, articles, conjunctions, content words, nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. The lexicon is the collection of word parts and the words that combine into larger word parts into words, and words into utterances. Syntax: the study of how words are combined into longer sequences. Phrase and sentence structure. Transform sentences. Grammatical categories: 1. Relate language to situation of utterance, person, number, gender, case, mood. Second, parts of speech: noun, verb, adverb, article, conjunction, preposition, and interjection. Third, elements of sentence for function: subject, predicate, complement, adverbial, intransitive, transitive, auxiliary, active, passive. Semantics: the study of meaning in the words and sentences. Sense: words vis-a-vis other words. Example: synonyms or antonyms. Reference: words vis-a-vis things, situations, action in the world. Meaning in sentences. Language function: discourse analysis is the study of language units beyond the sentence. Units of speech and writing as they relate to communicative events, as they relate to their cultural and social contexts of use, conversation, or narratives. Pragmatics: the study of intended meaning. Intended meaning: speech acts, performative verbs. How do things with language indirectness?